Hi, so this is going to be my 20-week update. Um, yeah, so I will be 20 weeks tomorrow, so I'm just going to do this today because I had an ultrasound today and I have a bunch of things to go over. So the lighting is pretty bad in here. It's really dark, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to just go back so you can see better. So yeah, I have gained 3 pounds so far, and I'm still way under what I was before I got pregnant, or at my first doctor's appointment. So I just started trying to gain weight. I just haven't really had much of an appetite, so I've been like trying to force myself to eat, which is hard to do when you're not really hungry. So that's one of my symptoms, is I just don't have an appetite. I've had some heartburn lately, and I've been having trouble sleeping. So I'm going to try to make this video kind of fast because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So that's pretty much it for symptoms. I haven't really had a lot this week, and I've kind of had headaches here and there, but that's about it. So yeah, pretty much we had our anatomy scan last week, a week ago from today, and we found out that our baby has a defect. And I don't like saying defect because it sounds way worse than it really is, and what he has looks a lot worse, and when you read about it, it looks sounds a lot worse than it actually is. But we found out that he has gastroschisis, which means his bowels, like his intestines, are outside of his body. And this happens because when the baby's forming, all the organs are out anyways, and then they all close together once their stomach forms. And they consider it to be kind of called like a belly cleft. So like when you have a cleft palate, it just didn't form all the way, so there's a gap. So he has a little gap, and it's always to the right of their umbilical cord. So here's would be his umbilical cord, and then he's got a hole right here next to it on the side, and his intestines stayed out of that. So pretty much what we found out, because we had our scan a week ago, and then today we just went to a specialist. So we found out that, I had already researched this, so I already knew pretty much everything. I'm gonna have to deliver him at a children's hospital, so I'll be delivering at a Children's Mercy, just because they don't have to transfer him to a different hospital and then us be in a different one when they could just have me have him. My eye looks really bad because of this lighting. I'm sorry. I promise I don't have a black eye though. So they'd rather you deliver in the hospital and then not have to transport him to a different one. So, so he's gonna have to have surgery. No matter what, he'll have to have surgery the day he's born. Sometimes they can put all the organs back in that day, depending on, well, not the organs, all of his intestines back in, depending on how much is out. But if there's too much, they don't want to put a lot of pressure on his other organs in here because they're growing without having anything down here. So just forcing them up can cause some problems, like with his heart and stuff like that. So if he can't have the surgery for that, they'll surgically put this thing called a silo, and it's pretty much like a bag, and it's about probably like this big, I'd say, depending, could be smaller or shorter, depending how much of it is out. So they'll sew that around the area, and then every day they'll roll it down a little bit and slowly push his intestines back into his body, which can take a week, maybe 9 days at the most, usually, for all of that to go back in. Then he'll go in for a second surgery, and they'll try to reconstruct his belly button to make it look as normal as possible, and make sure all of his different layers of skin and stuff are together. So, and then after that, he's going to be in the NICU. They can be in the NICU usually it's up to 6 weeks. Some babies are in there longer, some babies are in there for 2 weeks. It all depends on when they start eating, because they have to be fully eating without tubes or anything before they can leave. So what that means is now I have to go, I'll probably be having an ultrasound once a month, and then once I get closer I had to have stress tests done, and I might end up having more than one ultrasound in the last couple months because they have to watch for fluid levels. the babies usually have lower fluid, like amniotic fluid, and they're usually born a little bit underweight. So, and depending on how sometimes their intestines can dilate, and if they dilate too much, which means like they're getting swollen, it could bust open. So you have to watch that too. And if it starts doing that, usually they'll have you come in. You can have a natural birth, but usually they do C-section just because it's faster and it's less stress. So I have to decide whether I want to do vaginal or a C-section from here until when I have him. So I'm just going to show some pictures from our anatomy scan, and then I'll show some that we had from our scan today. So, here's a picture. Oh, sorry. I don't really want to. I guess you probably already saw the last name, but that's okay. So there's a picture of Nolan. His little hand above his head. And oops, sorry. Here's a picture of his face, and all of this right here, that's his intestines right there. Which I looked up other pictures, and there's other babies that look like they have it way worse than him. So, and he also has no other problems. He's super healthy. He's only measuring 3 days behind what his due date is, which is really good for any baby. So yeah, he's super active and he's moving around like crazy. I fuel him constantly. My boyfriend can put his hand on my stomach and he fuels him all the time. He's just a super crazy active baby. Here's a profile picture right there with his legs up. There's one. Here's his foot right there. They didn't really give us any pictures that showed the gastroschisis, but we finally got a good gender picture, because since his cords and stuff and his intestines are right there, it's hard to get one. So finally we have it. There's his little boy part right there, and then you can kind of see all his other stuff right here. So yeah, I'll definitely have a lot of updates to be doing, because I have to have so many appointments and ultrasounds now and stress tests done. So yeah, if you watch this video and your baby's had gastroschisis and stuff, if you commented and like told me that they had good outcomes, I know that they all do. Most of them, 90% of the babies they have like healthy lives after this, and they don't have problems at all.